Hi, Amy.
Abby.
Last night was Before the 90 Days, Season 7, Episode 17. I have 3 notes before we begin. As usual, please rate us or follow us on whatever platform you listen to the podcast on.
And thank you for those who have.
Yes, as always. If you prefer to watch our podcast, head on over to YouTube and look for our channel at 90 Day Fiancé Honestly. And finally, our subscriber-only content has launched, and please join us for our in-depth discussion of Season 2 of The Last Resort. This show is only available through Apple and Spotify. Okay, let's dig in. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Great. Let's start with Vanya. This was such a happy time. I loved her segments.
She was so happy, and I was applauding her the whole time. I felt like the Vanya supporter.
Mm-hmm.
She deserves so much of this. And as I was watching it, I was recalling my comments from the previous week and how disappointed you were by it. And I didn't get any of those vibes by watching that with this episode. And to remind our viewers, I said, there was commentary that, he might be an escort and, maybe the kid's, really his and not a foster kid, blah, blah, blah. I don't think any of that matters at this capacity because in this moment, because he seemed so genuine and their connection seems so genuine. And this is not, I don't even know this word, probably not, but I want to say firecrackery, explosive.
Yeah.
But in like a firecracker kind of way.
In a happy, explosive way, not a bad blood guts all over the place kind of way.
Yeah.
Agreed.
I was so happy for her. This is the feel-good stuff that we haven't seen in so long.
Mm-hmm.
There's no underlying, whatever. We know nothing about the underlying stuff. And if there is, I prefer just to play in my own ignorance at this point because it's just so lovely to see.
It's very lovely. I was clapping. I was smiling throughout. It was uplifting.
Mm-hmm.
It was positive. And let's talk about what actually happened because Vanya has another date number 2 with Josko. And it starts off in a very strange way. I was quite perplexed by her getting all dressed, going down the street, and then arriving at the date location, and he's sitting in a hot tub
Already.
But how? Okay, so just explain this to me if you can. There's a random bar with hot tubs, and he goes and he hangs out in the hot tub waiting for her to come to the bar. Is that what it was?
No, I don't think I paid that much attention to it. I was just happy to see him.
Yeah, as was I. Yes, I couldn't get over the fact that she was arriving and then immediately taking a bath with this guy on top of a building. But fine, everything's happy and good. They start kissing right away.
And she looked so happy. Even when she was talking about seeing him again, she looked so happy. She deserved this.
Yeah, she's totally come alive again after this awful experience in the past. And Josko is so wonderful. He's not afraid to talk about anything with Vanya. He's not afraid to pay her compliments. She's obviously so happy. She's eating up all of the things that he says to her, all of the touching that she gets from him, all of the attention, the affection. She definitely craves this so much. And to see her just come to life, like I said before, is absolutely spellbinding. It warms my heart so much. I loved it. And then after they have this wonderful time at the hot tub bar, whatever it is, I'm so curious. They go back to her apartment and Josko stays overnight. They wake up the next morning giggling, which I thought was a very good sign, but it's not because they've had sex. And I was like, oh, good for you, Vanya. Like, still getting to know him first.
Yeah. And when they first got to her apartment and he picks her up, I was like, oh, Vanya. And then in the morning, we find out that they didn't have sex. And I was like, oh, Vanya, she's keeping her boundaries. She's respecting herself. And Again, it
I
was just so beautiful.
It was, and all the criticism that she was getting when from the previous episode when she went out on her first date with him, and everybody's saying, "Oh, she's too needy, she's too overt, she's saying too much, she wants too much, she's being a Klingon." She wasn't. This proves it. Their second date, and even though they have this amazing chemistry together, they hold back. They're still getting to know each other. And
Respectfully.
I just loved it. I adored it.
It was so good. And I am also guilty of saying, she was too much. She needed to calm down. Stop thinking about the future. It's only the first date. I was wrong. I was wrong.
And we're delighted that we were wrong, right?
Mhm. Yes.
And
Yes.
then they go on the most fantastic, oh, this is totally a me date, right? You go hiking, you go up a mountain, and you go visit a castle. Like, obscenely perfect. I
Mhm.
love that. They get to the top of this mountain. They're at this absolutely gorgeous location overlooking the ocean, or I guess this is sea, overlooking the sea, and they're in this castle. They start talking. They still need to talk about some serious things because the depth of their feelings requires that they kind of establish what each other is, what each other's intentions are.
You want to know what I found the most refreshing about this? Nobody else talks about these things.
You're
Nobody.
right. You're right.
And
Sadly.
we're going to see this later on in the podcast.
Mm-hmm.
But I couldn't believe that they were talking about the serious issues on what now their second or third date, whatever.
Second. Mm-hmm.
They're talking about it. They're
Yeah.
talking through it. What? Yes.
Adults.
Yes.
Real
Thank
adults.
you. Thank you. This is exactly what we love to see. This is exactly what we've been trying to get other people to do, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's what you expect intelligent adults to do if they want to establish whether or not there is a future. You've got to talk about the important things. You've got to talk about, in this case, children. Because Josko has concerns about Vanya and his son. And so he asks her, how do you feel about this? How does it make you feel to know that I've got a son, and that he even says, I want you to be a part of his life, and I know that you are the one for me. And it was like, wow, I was stunned. It was so, and I hope I'm not going to have to backpedal any of this next week. It was so honest. It was so true. Him saying to her, I really have this feeling that you're the one. I know it. And so I want you to be in my life and my son's life.
Glorious.
Absolutely.
I just want to shove my face in the microphone right now. I was just, on one hand, I'm like, dude, too soon. But on the other hand, is it?
It's not. It's not.
No.
They have such a short timeline because she's leaving to go back to the US tomorrow. So they have to breach these difficult subjects now, broach them.
Well, I mean, they don't have to. They could have waited until she got back, but it put them in a much, much better position for an upward trajectory of their relationship if they do have this conversation now. It's not going to be hanging over their heads. Both of them aren't going to be like, well, where are we? What are we doing? What is this going to look like? No. Just, she grabbed the bull by the horns, theoretically and or
Figuratively?
Figuratively, thank you. Not quite sure if she has it, but
Literally?
yeah, I'm so proud of her.
Yeah.
I'm so, so, so proud of her. And I'm so happy that this trip that could have been an epic failure is ending on this happy note. And it's happy for everyone involved.
It totally is.
At no one's expense. And she deserves this.
Yep.
And I'd like to think that he does too.
She is so self-aware. I love this about her as well, that when she's talking about Josko's son, she says that she's kind of hesitant. She's worried about it because she had a past relationship where she got very close to her partner's daughter. And then, of course, when that relationship ended, she had to end the relationship with the daughter as well, which she found very painful. So we know that she's thinking about these things. She's considering the implications of it, and she's torn. Like Joshko's comforting her. She bursts into tears at this point because she's so afraid of having that happen again. And it's not like he's introducing her to his son right away. They're not going that crazy, but they're talking about it. And I found that so refreshing.
Again, with the word refreshing.
Yeah.
How many times have we seen that on this show?
Mm-hmm.
You introduce your kids too early.
Yep.
You introduce them too late. Or you don't even introduce them at all. Has Adnan even met Tigerlily's kids yet? Nope. I don't know.
Maybe online, maybe on video, but
either way,
not the same.
We'll get to that. But I love the fact that they're talking about this. This is so healthy. Like the whole time I was watching all of her segments, I'm so hopeful for the two of you. I'm so hopeful.
And like I said, I really hope we don't have to backpedal any of this next week because I'm not sure what's coming. But for the moment, their connection just seems to be so insanely good and true. I love that we get to watch them develop this relationship and this closeness so quickly, definitely, but also so honestly, because they are talking about it. They are being expressive, and they're not afraid to show affection. They're not afraid to ask the difficult questions. And they definitely both have the same vibe or energy, which I think is fantastic. Yeah. Because a lot of times we get partners who have very different energies. If you think about Jasmine and Gino, for instance, totally different energy. It's hard to think of them actually working out in the long term. But these two, they match. Totally match. I love it. The one thing that is the issue, however, is the timing. Because she has to leave the next day, it does feel like they have to kind of rush to some sort of a deadline, something to establish whether or not they're going to continue this in a serious way or in a lighthearted way. So they have this third date where they go out that evening for gelato. Oh, yes, please. Can I have some? And then Vanya
my notes say, oh, hell yeah, gelato.
Pistachio, please. Vanya wants to know what the future holds for them. So Josko says he wants to come to Orlando and visit her. Isn't that lovely? He's not saying, oh, you've got to come back here. I'm going to wait for you to come back in a year, 6 months. Yeah. I'm coming to Orlando as soon as possible.
You know what this says? Effort, commitment, connection.
It was fantastic. So then the next stage is to make it official. She asks, so are you my boyfriend now? And yes, he is.
He said the word clause, yes. You want to talk about clear and transparent communication. Yes.
Yes.
There is no ambivalence. No questions. No nothing.
I am so happy that Vanya's on the show. When we first met her and she came across the screen as her true, authentic, happy, genuine self, I was so excited to see what her relationship was going to be like with what's his name. And then when we finally met him and things fell apart almost immediately, I was so bitterly disappointed because I thought that she really had great potential to be one of the 90-day cast members that we actually feel a real, like we feel is real. Yeah. You know, we get connection, we get tied to, we get invested in. So now that things have turned around totally 180 for Vanya, I'm just absolutely pleased beyond.
You know what I think Vanya needs to do when she goes home? I think that she needs to buy her friend a bottle of wine. The one that convinced her to stay.
Oh, her cousin, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good idea.
Well,
all right. Okay, there's too much happiness happening now. So do you want to move on?
Ruin it.
Yeah, let's go ruin it.
Oh, God.
Let's go to Poland and talk about Magda and Joe.
Will he say her name correctly in front of her mother?
Never. No effort whatsoever. There you
Oh.
go. Good old jokes. Calling her Magda 15 million times. I'm very, very irritated by this now. I think I'm at
Okay,
about a 9.5 out of 10.
before you get too irritated, I'd like to talk about the bouquet of flowers. Did you see how massive that was? A very excellent way to meet the mother.
Yes.
But I loved it when he said in the car, "What am I going to do? Buy her one flower?" Loser.
Remind you of somebody?
Rob,
Yes.
one rose. And he buys Magda's mom this massive bouquet. I thought that was just so funny.
Well, I'm surprised to hear you say that. I
Why?
thought you'd be all about the box of desserts because he also bought an entire huge box of pastries from a beautiful bakery.
Yeah, but that was more Magda than it was him. She picked them
Okay.
all out and she's like, we brought you. Well, he bought them.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. What's the problem with pastries?
There's no problem. I thought you would be all over that.
Oh, yes, I love that too. But I was so focused on the whole, like, the one rose or one flower loser.
So that was her ex, right? Who had done that, brought Magda's mother one flower, one rose. And
I
so
don't know if
that was the comparison. That's why he was calling him a loser
that's
because
even
it's her
better.
ex. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
also Rob.
Also, Rob,
And
definitely.
I double parked, I stopped traffic, and I picked these out of someone's garden.
But they smell great. You want to smell them?
Did you smell it? You just smell that rose that I got you? Yeah, you like that, right? Yeah, you like that. Not once did he ask that we've seen Magda's mom to smell the flowers. I don't like this guy, but he is worlds above Rob.
Okay, well, Joe is very confident. He's confident that Magda's mom is going to like him. He says he's always impressed parents in the past. I don't know how he's achieved that, but whatever. Let's go. Let's see what you've got up your sleeve, Joe.
Mm-hmm.
Aside from the gorgeous and very large bouquet of flowers, plus an entire box of pastries, plus taking the mom out for dinner. They arrive at the restaurant. They're all sitting down. And of course, Magda's mom doesn't speak English, so they have to use the translator app or Magda to actually converse.
Translate.
Yes, Joe doesn't know at this point that Magda has shared the details, the rather sordid details of his and Magda's relationship at the point where he decided to sleep with another woman. So, mom is very seriously doubting their relationship and is very, very clearly and obviously sizing Joe up at first. She's quiet, but she's looking at him a lot. And she wants to hear from him exactly how he feels about Magda, which is a fantastic question.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I love this question because the response, if they can respond right away, that's a very good sign. If they take time to respond, not a good sign. If they crack a joke rather than actually answer the question seriously and honestly, that's a bad sign. And what does Joe do? He cracks a freaking joke. He says,
Yes, he does.
Magda is so strong. He really loves how strong she is. So he knows that if he ever hurt her, that she would kill him.
And he's afraid of her.
So
Or
mom is not
something to that.
Yeah, mom is not impressed. And her face says it very clearly. She has this brief but forced smile and she closes her mouth. So that's the
Mm-hmm.
sign, like, I want you to
Mm-hmm.
stop talking. Stop
Mm-hmm.
talking. No,
Yeah.
that was not what I wanted to hear. And then her next question, the follow up immediately goes to the cheating. And Joe is sweating. He's totally caught off guard. He had no idea that Magda and his mom had shared this information.
Magda and her mom.
Yeah, Magda and her mom. So how on earth does he squirm out of this one?
This bothered me so much because it reminded me so much of Lily and her daughter. Obviously, it's the other way around, just the oversharing with the parent or the child. I get wanting to tell your mom about that, but at the same time, give her a timeline, give her all the details.
Yeah.
But I think Magda lives in her own fantasy world.
Well,
So
as we know, Magda is so incredibly scared of losing people. She's scared of being abandoned. So she would have clung on to the relationship like a life raft
yeah,
as soon as it started. And if mom doesn't realize that by now, then I don't know what to say. But I think it's within the mom's right to ask him about that. Given she knows about it, given he did do it, given how her daughter felt about it, she would want to get some kind of reassurance that this isn't a habit of Joe's.
I can appreciate that. I can definitely appreciate
Mhm.
that. I don't love how Magda keeps throwing around that this is cheating when they weren't even a couple. They'd been talking for like a month online when he did that. How was he supposed to know that, marriage and babies and whatever were at the forefront of her mind at that point, especially with him? He did say that Magda put him at a disadvantage by telling her mom that and not telling him. And she
Yeah.
did. So obviously her mom is going to have preconceived notions about him before she meets him. Well, why?
I agree. I think Magda should have told Joe that mom had this information before he met mom. But I don't believe that it was wrong of her to share that information because she was so devastated by it.
I agree on both points,
Okay.
but I think she should have just told him.
Yeah.
Hey, my mom knows.
Yeah.
But this also tells me that they haven't worked it out together because he was sweating such balls.
He was.
Work your stuff out and then take the beating from the mom. Like you have to figure out what this means for you first before you can reply to your mom, especially in front of your partner. And I did want to mention that we've seen a lot of the couples translating for their parents, but I think Magda actually did a really good job with translating what her mom was saying.
Yeah.
And I was really impressed with that.
Me too. So the way that Joe wiggles his way out of this problem
By
is
whistling into another one. Sorry,
he says that he wants to have a family with Magda. He wants to get married. He wants to be with her. And this seems to win her over.
Oh, her eyes just started beaming. Oh,
He
yeah.
doesn't put a timeline on it. He just assures her that's what he wants. He wants to be with Magda. Children, family, marriage, those things, but very loosely spoken of, which is totally fine for such a new relationship. But I think in this case, he might have been shooting himself in the foot because I don't think this is going to be happy for Magda to hear because she wants the timeline. She wants the reassurance that it's going to happen in 6 months, a year, whatever is in her mind. And as we know, they haven't yet figured that out. So I would not have been impressed with that answer, but whatever. Louisa is, so things are going well. The dinner ends well. Next up is a game of volleyball.
But wait.
What? What did I miss?
The mom said that she thought that Joey was warm-hearted and sensitive.
Right.
And
how could I
my
forget?
response to that was, is he, or was he just completely and utterly scared shitless?
I think he told enough jokes for her to get that impression. I don't think that you can gauge somebody's sensitivity. Did she really say that? That he was sensitive?
I wrote it in my note, and I had to rewind it like 3 times because I was like, there's no way. Yeah. Warm-hearted and sensitive.
Maybe there was an error in translation there.
We've seen that before. You're right. And we both know that I'm not fluent in
Polish.
So, yeah. But
Okay.
anyway, yeah. So they go play volleyball.
Yeah.
Have you ever played volleyball with your ex-boyfriends?
No, I hate volleyball, period. Why would I play this with anybody?
I love volleyball, but I've never played with any of my ex-boyfriends.
And I would never play volleyball in a tiny little bikini like that. But I mean, I understand this is beach volleyball. That's what the outfit is. And Magda is beautiful, spectacular body, great shape. She can show off all she wants. She looks fantastic. But somehow, despite this odd game where he seems to be trying to show off, but he's pathetic, and she's actually just trying to show her real skill, and he doesn't really give her a chance to do that. They get onto the subject of remaining friends with an ex. And of course, Magda has some very strong feelings about this subject.
No, you cannot be friends with an ex, especially if you've had sex with them. There is no need to remain friends after that.
Cut them off, no contact, never see them again, ended, done, dead. And sweet Joe, innocent that he is, of course, is friends with an ex of his, Jill, back in Miami. And he knows in this moment that he should be honest with Magda. He acknowledges that he should tell her, but he's too scared to do so. So he does not. Great. You've progressed so much in your relationship.
He brought this up, I want to say, like the first or second episode. Because they're all like, I think his friends even asked him, like, are you going to tell her about, I think her name's Joanne? Jill? Oh, it's close. Go. Yeah. And he even said, like, I probably should tell her, but I won't because I know how she's going to react. And then he tells her, I didn't tell you because I didn't think it would be an issue. That is the lie. I wouldn't say it was an overt lie by him not saying that he was talking to an ex. They're friends. It's not like they're still hooking up or anything. But the lie was when he said he didn't think that she would care.
She definitely
Joe
cares.
Well,
he knows.
Knew. And he still pulled this BS.
Not good, Joe. I mean, he's had so many mishaps so far as telling Magda the truth, hiding things from her, being too scared to speak up. Can he not please just drop the charade? Start telling her the truth. She's going to respect you more. She's not going to get as angry. But no, let's just put it under the table because we're about to go on this romantic trip together, and I don't want anything to come in between us, so to speak, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. So I just, at this point, I don't know if it was at this point or if it was after the preview, but the only thing that was ringing through my head as I was watching the end of it was, bring out your dead. I think it was the preview when she said, I would poke out both of your eyeballs and I would eat them. Bring out your dead. And you know Joe's not going to be like, I feel much better. I feel happy. I think I'll go for a walk. No, he's going to play dead. He's going to go on the trolley.
He's going to go on the cart.
Yeah. That was
Joe.
a Monty Python reference for those of you who were
Go
unclear.
watch the Holy Grail.
Not just... No. Can you imagine if I just randomly made that up? Okay, anyway, let's move on.
Yes. Let's go to Veah and Sunny if we're done with Magda and Joe.
Always, yes.
Yeah. They are going on a trip together. They're going to a place called Drakensberg. I was like, what is this place? Sounds very scary, but it turns out it's absolutely beautiful, green, jungly, lush, tropical.
Oh,
wow.
Yes.
So fantastic. This is to celebrate their 1-year anniversary. Okay. Whatever you want to call it. You've known each other for 1 year online. You've been together for 1 week. Is that about right? I think so. Anyway.
Sorry, choking on my own spit.
Veah says that she feels like Sunny is the person that she's supposed to be with. And yet, there is still the major question in her mind, and my mind too, about religion, which is centering around the fact that she thinks Sunny may be hiding something from her.
Oh, dun. Sorry, that was high-pitched.
Is he? Do you think he's hiding something from her?
And then you see his interview where he was like, I really have to talk to her about converting to my religion. But let's have sex first.
Yeah. I love that.
Some more premarital sex.
Yeah.
Before we discuss, we were just talking about Veah and Josko and, how they're talking about very real issues that they have to work through. And here's a couple that just doesn't give a shit about that.
Nope.
or at
He
least
doesn't,
Sunny.
because
He
he's
does not.
withholding.
Mm-hmm.
He's withholding this critical information that he hasn't shared with her that would change the course of their relationship 1000%.
If there was any non-negotiables in your relationship, like the other person has a kid, the other religion,
They're a
um,
drug addict, they're a porn addict, they
that,
they have no money,
whatever Lauren is, I guess it's all that.
homeless. Mhm.
Um, all of these non-negotiables need to be discussed very quickly in your relationship. And now you're talking about something as substantial as converting to the Muslim religion.
This is fascinating. It's been 1 year that he's been
Oh,
deceiving
whole
her
year.
on this topic, 1 whole year, just so he can use her for sex.
Yep.
He's going to go ahead and not tell her about this crucial piece of information, and he's going to withhold it until after he slept with her again
Again.
or some more, and then he's going to drop the bomb on her.
Mm-hmm.
He is being so freaking hypocritical about his
Conniving.
religion. What? Conniving?
Conniving.
Yes, conniving. He's devout enough that he feels that he must have a Muslim wife. And yet he's totally fine with sleeping with a woman who he isn't married to.
And then being filmed in bed with her.
Yeah.
Discussing it.
It's such selective devotion to your religious beliefs. It's so convenient. Oh, I'm going to adhere to these rules, but not those rules. And then later on, I'm just going to skip ahead for a moment when they're discussing the reason why he did that. And he says it's because he's going to ask for forgiveness from Allah later. I was like, that is despicable. You're cherry picking what you want to believe out of your religion so you can engage in sex with this woman. You can use her even though you know she doesn't want to convert. You haven't told her that she has to convert. And she is just innocently going along with this charade, thinking that you guys are going to end up together forever.
Right.
It's despicable.
Great. Love this.
First,
So
let's do
much
some
for
let's
him.
do some Zulu dancing, which was totally cool. I love that.
I thought this was a lot of fun.
Mhm.
I loved seeing how stiff he was and how she was laughing at him for being such a poor dancer. I thought that was really nice.
But when they actually get to experience a little bit of the culture, and we get to see that too, I find that adds a little bit of extra oomph into the show.
Mhm.
Anyway, they do that. They go to dinner, and then the dinner, of course, is where everything unravels because Sonny finally gets the balls to admit that he needs to be with a woman who is Muslim. And so I guess Veah was not the only one who was keeping secrets. Remember how she was kind of persecuted at the beginning when she first arrived because she had secrets? Well, guess what? Sonny's keeping secrets too.
And what a secret. You know what I love the most is that they didn't have this conversation before they met with his dad.
Yeah.
So that made that conversation so much more awkward. Had he talked to her about that beforehand and she said absolutely no, it's entirely possible that that meeting never would have happened. And it would have saved them all the embarrassment. Well, maybe not his dad, because I don't think he's capable of being embarrassed. But Sonny's just playing all of his cards wrong.
This is an ultimatum. Veah has to convert or they can't continue. They can't get
After
married.
a year. And after they send Rory home. So now she has no support other than the camera crew.
Yep.
And production.
Nobody. And she's very contained and controlled. I thought that was quite amazing that she was able not to flip out. She was very cool throughout the conversation. And she asked,
very mature.
Why didn't you tell me this before? A very fair question. And she also calls him out on this contradiction of being willing to break the rules of your religion as far as having sex before marriage goes. But then he's saying, oh, well, but I have to marry a Muslim woman because I adhere to my religion so strongly. Like,
No, I was proud of her for calling him out, especially for the premarital coitus.
Yeah.
Like, why do you get to cherry pick? And again, we've seen this so many times on the show. These Muslim men, and I'm not saying all of them, but
The ones
especially
on the show.
most of them, they cherry pick what they want to do and what they want their wives to do, and don't say anything until the last minute. And then, they're so in love. So yeah, let's bend over backwards and do whatever you want me to do just to make you happy. And I really don't think that Veah is gonna fall into that trap.
Yeah, I hope she doesn't. I mean, she's been strung along for an entire year thinking that Sonny is open-minded and flexible enough in his religion that it doesn't make a big deal or a big difference to him whether or not his partner is Muslim as well. So I would feel just incredibly betrayed by that.
Blindsided.
Yeah. And he's just unwilling to bend at all, it turns out. This is so different from his portrayal of himself before. All of a sudden, she's up against a brick wall. You have to convert or we can't be together. And he basically gives her a hard deadline of 6 months in which she can make the conversion or decide that she wants to make the conversion. Like, what?
And then my
where did this
question
come
is,
from?
if she does decide to convert, what's the timeline for her tattoos? The removal of her tattoos?
Oh, well, I think Dad already decided that that was 2 or 3 months down the road.
Is that before or after conversion?
I'm just good question. Probably before conversion, because you wouldn't want to convert and have these very, very bad things all over your body. Anyway, you were talking about the fact that we've been through this so many times on 90 Day before with Muslim men. Yes, we have. I was trying to think if there are any Muslim men who have been on the show who haven't converted, and all I can think of is what was her name, who was in Vegas, but they ended up splitting up. And Muhammad and Eve, he's Muslim, she was not. And I never got the sense that he was pressuring her to convert at any point. I mean, she was putting the bidet in the house so that he could do his stuff in the bathroom. And then, of course, we have Citra, who's Muslim, and she asked Sam to convert. He converted for her. So we have one woman who required that of her husband. But yeah, you would think that especially as a 90 Day cast member, that you would have known that this is probably something that I should be aware of and really get into deep before I decide to commit to this guy. But Sonny kept it all so well hidden, I guess.
And even on this season, they're not the only one.
Anyway, the timing, again, is absolutely horrible on this one. Rory has left.
Because, sorry for interrupting, but I'm pretty sure that when Sam was converting, and he was talking is it a temple?
It's a mosque.
It's a mosque. So he was talking to the
Imam.
Thank you. Imam, is that how you say
Imam. Yeah,
Imam,
the religious leader.
at the mosque. And then he said something to the effect about it taking like 6 months to study to be able to do your conversion. And we were joking about, has he even cracked a book? Does he even know what the Quran is? And so it just seems like this timeline is, even if she were willing, it would be tight.
Yeah. What I was going to say is the timing is so bad, is so awful, and I have to question whether or not this was deliberate on Sonny's part as well, to make sure that Rory has gone at this point, because Veah needs Rory now. And he just left the day before, 2 days before. Was Sonny waiting for Rory to be gone so that he could deliver this and make sure that he has the most power, he could be the most effective in trying to get her to see things his way? Because if Rory is there, he's obviously going to support Veah and tell her not to do it.
Well, I would think that he wouldn't have felt confident enough to say anything to Veah, because Rory would have completely shut that down. He completely would have protected her at that point. So I think it was completely contrived that he waited, because it wasn't brought up. We didn't really see anything until after Rory had left, is when it gets brought up. Why?
Yeah.
Great. You're gross.
Yeah. Yes. I'm ready to move on. Are you?
I don't want to touch this one, but
okay. Let's put on our gloves like they did last week. For Loren and Faith. Loren is taking Faith, this is hilarious, to see an immigration lawyer. As we know, just hoping he can stay in the Philippines and not go back to the US ever, even though his flight is scheduled for the next day.
How did he pay for that flight, by the way?
How do you pay for the lawyer?
Maybe it was a free consultation.
Could have been, yeah.
Anyway, this lawyer was lovely.
She was, or they were. I don't know if they were both lawyers or what, but Loren's plans are still, at this point, to go to Thailand and marry Faith there because of his previous arrangement where they would go there, get married, and then come back to the Philippines where the same-sex marriage is not permitted, and everything would be fine. But he's still joking about his secondary plan of marrying Faith's mother. And I'm like, have you not gotten the message yet, dude? This is not appropriate. We're not going to do this option number 2, ever.
This isn't even an Shut your mouth.
It's not funny.
Your mouth.
Mm-hmm.
No, nobody's laughing.
Nope.
I don't even think he's laughing because he's just vying at the hope to be able to stay in the Philippines. But I'm so glad that the lawyer just completely kiboshed all of his ideas.
The lawyer was fantastic. She says, much to Loren's surprise,
And chagrin.
Thailand does not allow same-sex marriages. What? Somebody didn't do their research. The country, in fact, that does allow same-sex marriages is Taiwan.
Great. But the marriage won't be recognized in the Philippines.
Oh, no. Even if he got married in Taiwan, where it is allowed to have a same-sex marriage, at the moment he comes back to the Philippines, he is not considered married because they are both legally men. So he can't get a spousal visa. He wouldn't have permission to stay and live there. He wouldn't have permission to work there.
Couldn't work. So there goes his whole idea of, he had that list of all the different vocations that he could possibly, make money in.
Sure. Go, Loren, go.
Obviously, none of them are in the States, though.
So then the lawyer says, look, the only viable option open to you is to get a K-1 visa.
And move to the States. Hurrah!
Get married in the U.S., where same-sex marriage is legal. Move there, live there, work there. Loren's plans come to a screeching halt.
He doesn't want to go to the States.
Nope.
He wants to stay in the Philippines.
Mm-hmm.
And Faith is extremely excited because she wants to go to the States. Conflict.
I love this moment. It was so satisfying. It was so satisfying to have his dreams come crashing down. The fact that he didn't even look into this in any capacity with any thoughtfulness whatsoever and just
he was
assumed
so confident about it.
He just assumed that he could do what his friends did, which was to get married in Thailand, which they obviously didn't do because it's not legal there either. Oh, just hilarious. Like, this guy is such a dumbass. Anyway, he doesn't have the money that he will need to sponsor Faith to come to the U.S. So even if he was to fly back to the U.S., which he does have to do, he can land there. He can apply for a visa, but he doesn't have the money to pay for the visa. He doesn't have the financial stability to sponsor her to come over to the United States. He doesn't have the money to pay for her to take a plane to the United States. It's all so funny. Tragic, but funny.
I think the only thing that's tragic is the fact that Faith bought into this. I feel awful for her. So as much as I enjoyed the lawyer taking Loren's sails, or the wind out of Loren's sails, what I appreciated more was, when they were having drinks afterwards, Loren starts crushing cans in his hands and against his head, and he somehow triggered her. I don't know what the whole knife thing was, but
yeah.
She was triggered by something, and he wouldn't let up. And then she just has enough, gets up, takes off the ring, and leaves. Yes, this is my favorite part of the entire episode, next to Josko in.
And the really odd thing here is that he's booked this luxury, fancy hotel for their last night together to have a romantic time. And yet he exhibits this very odd, very strange behavior when they're in their room. And Faith says to the camera, I'm ready for sexy time. Like, she's there. She's prepared. She's willing. This is the moment. And he sabotages himself so badly and so completely by doing these things. I don't know what he thought it was. Macho?
Was it aggression?
I don't know. But the repeated stabbing of his hand with the knife was so...
Wait, did he do that first?
No. First, he crushed a can with his hand. Then he smashed one into his head. Then he took the knife and he just kept stabbing it against his hand over and over.
I missed that because I saw her doing it and she asked a question about it, and it was just after that she left. I completely missed him doing that.
And she is visibly shaken by his actions, and he's not reading the room at all. He
doesn't know how to read a room.
No, but you would think that he would clue into her body language, the things she's saying, her demeanor, her overall everything.
Well-being?
Because she is very clearly sending out the signal that she is uncomfortable and is getting turned off very quickly by this weird stuff that he's doing. And she says she's confused. She wants to talk to him about the future. She wants to talk about what's next. She wants to have a deep and meaningful conversation. And what he does in response to that is so completely at odds with what she thought the night was going to be that she just gets completely freaked out, stands up, takes off the ring, says we're done, walks out of the hotel room, grabs her things, and talks about, in tears, about how triggered she was because as a trans woman, she's always afraid of violence. And this makes me think, well, maybe she actually has experienced violence in the past, and that's why she has such a strong reaction to him doing these things in front of her, even though he was not, overtly saying, I'm going to hurt you. It was, to her, it was enough that it elicits this response in her where she has to get out.
Just to remove herself from that situation. Yeah.
Yeah. It was quite scary and very disappointing, again, for Loren, because I'm disappointed in Loren, not that he is disappointed in Faith. I'm disappointed in him because every time he gets an opportunity to take a step forward and to fix something that he's done wrong in the past, nope, he just makes it worse.
You know what he does? Keeps cock blocking himself.
Yeah, absolutely. Well done. And I'm glad.
Keep it up.
I'm glad. He doesn't deserve Faith. Shall we read on?
Okay.
No. This is a short segment with Tigerlily and Adnan. Again, we have this temptation of them having beautiful desserts. They go out for an evening of lovely desserts. Gelato, tiramisu, baklava. Anyway, it's their last night together. They're speculating about whether or not Tigerlily might be pregnant. And then they have
pressure on her lower back. She could just be constipated.
They're talking about what happens if she can't conceive. Tigerlily wants to know what's going to happen if she can't have a baby because Adnan really wants to have a family. Again, why did she not look this up before marrying this man? Why did she not do her research?
And to quote Tigerlily from the first episode, but why would we do that?
Why would we? No good reason, obviously. Because, as it turns out, Adnan explains, he can marry up to 4 women in his Muslim faith. Marrying other women is a way that is considered a viable option if you can't have children with your first wife or your second or probably even your third. So, first of all, I want to know why Tigerlily isn't familiar with this. Not even just from the perspective of how you researched what a Muslim marriage actually entails, but has she not watched this show before? Because this has come up many, many times.
No.
Okay.
Because why would she?
Why would she? Indeed. She's got better things to do. But all is well. This is very fortunate because Adnan, when he was a child, had a very negative experience of being the child of a man who married more than one woman.
Who
And
practiced polygamy.
Mhm. And he doesn't want to do this because he knows what it feels like to be a child brought up in that environment. So, good news for Tigerlily, he's not going to have more wives than one.
It's not what he said at all. He's still pushing for it. He's like, if you can't conceive, I'll just get another wife.
No, I heard him say, I will not do this because I was brought up in this household with my dad and it was awful and I don't want to do that. So it's okay. Don't worry about it.
I heard that as, I won't do it if you can conceive and give me children.
Okay. I didn't hear that at all.
Well, he didn't say it. It was like an underlying message.
Ah, okay. Again, I didn't get that at all from him. His face to me was reassuring and loving towards Tigerlily. So I felt that it was face value. I'm not going to do it because that's what happened to me. And then they say, well, there are other options. And I think at that point that they were talking about things like IVF and adoption.
Or surrogacy.
Or surrogacy. Yes. Yes.
Yeah, they do have options. I mean, Tigerlily still has viable eggs inside her. It's whether or not she's going to be able to carry a child through to birth is really the question. And without life-threatening and or life-altering genetic defects.
So we switch to 2 weeks later because she leaves the next day to fly back to Texas. And we see Tigerlily in a new apartment. This was a bit weird. There are moving boxes everywhere. She's sleeping on a mattress, which is on the floor. Where are her kids? I was really confused. I wanted to know what's going on. Why won't she explain what the living situation is? Because it's definitely changed from before when she was in that ginormous house.
She was downsizing.
For what reason? Because she's going to grow her family?
Yeah. I don't know. I found that very confusing as well. It was like, where are you and why is it so messy?
Yeah. Why is she? What's with the moving boxes? Where are the kids? Well, anyway, she's taking a pregnancy test. Okay, good for you. Do you want to make the happy announcement?
Tigerlily is pregnant.
Hey, congratulations. So they did it.
Okay. So gross. So their baby making trip was successful.
And I found it a little bit odd that she decided that she's not going to tell Adnan right then and there, even though he's calling her as she's making this video to tell everybody that she's pregnant. She wants to fly back to Jordan to tell him in person. I'm like, what? But how long is that going to take? Or maybe because I'm not an incredibly wealthy person, as she definitely is, I just don't have this concept of being able to buy a ticket the next day, first class, to fly to Jordan and go spend some more time away from her 2 children.
I wonder if she wants to tell him to his face so then he can pick her up and I forgot the name of that. Roadrunner. Pick her up and roadrunner over to his mom's place. Be like, tell her.
Okay.
So then Tigerlily can be there for the celebration. They will celebrate her, shower her with all this love and affection and attention.
She wants the praise.
Attention. Yeah.
In-person praise.
Yeah.
Okay.
And also everyone, I am now with a child, so now he doesn't need a second wife. I can do this. Okay.
The funniest thing that she said, or maybe the most pathetic thing, I can't decide which, is how's she going to fit the baby seat into her Lamborghini?
She's going to have to buy a new car.
Rich people problems. Seriously, Tigerlily, read the room. Do you know what show you're on? Please.
And also, do you think such a high-performance vehicle is the safest for your 2 children?
Absolutely
3
not.
children. Come on.
Is there even a backseat in the Lamborghini? I don't even know. Or she probably couldn't even put her kids in the Lamborghini. I'm sure she has other cars.
Just get a Range Rover.
I think she just purely said it for dramatic effect and to let us know how wealthy she is.
Probably. I wouldn't be surprised if they had Lamborghinis with back seats. That would not surprise me at all. I think it would just be a huge pain in the ass to get the kids in and out of it. I don't think I've ever seen a 4-door Lamborghini.
I have no idea. This is not my realm at all.
It's not mine either. I have absolutely no idea. I don't know, and I don't care. I will never own a Lamborghini, even if I had the money. That's not my thing. No.
All right.
But, feels so bad for her.
Not.
Correct. I don't care if you have to buy a new car at all. But I did appreciate that pregnancy test, though, because it clearly said yes with a plus mark.
Mm-hmm.
You know how they used to be? I mean, they probably still do with like the 2 little lines or something.
Yeah.
And obviously, it's never been an issue for me, but the amount of times that my friends have called me and been like, "Can you come and look at this? Is that a faint second line?" It's almost like with the COVID test.
Yeah.
Do I have? Anyway,
I'm sure her test was like $100 test kit. Something very expensive, something gold plated. Okay, that was very sarcastic. I admit.
I'm sorry. I feel like I just separated the microphone. Okay, moving on.
Yeah. So Brian and Ingrid were not on this week. They're finished. Niles and Matilda also were not on this week. We are eagerly awaiting them next week when we know that their wedding is going to finally take place. Yay.
He looks like he's going to have a panic attack.
Yeah.
I really, really hope that he sticks with it and he doesn't walk out.
Somebody's got to hold his hand. He'll be fine.
I hope Mr. Ark will be there for him.
I think he will. Also next week, Vanya's going to get a visit from Josko in Orlando. It's happening already.
It seems as though there's going to be a bomb, though.
Yeah.
And I'm so hopeful that it's going to be a good one.
I hope so, too.
The adoption went through with the kid, and now it's possible that he can move.
That's a great thought.
I feel like that was like the biggest issue with their long distance thing, because he was fostering this child.
Yeah.
And I mean, I've never fostered or adopted a child, but I feel like that would be the biggest, most beautiful thing for her.
I hope so sincerely. If it's something negative, I'm going to cry. I really don't want their romance to be broken so early.
I don't either.
Okay. What else is happening?
This is my hope.
Sunny and Veah?
Yeah. Will he propose?
Oh my God. Why are they even still together at this point?
I don't know. Is he going to propose before she even converts?
Oh my God.
Or is he going to propose and then expect her to convert before the wedding or after the wedding at some point?
This is such a mess.
It's a non-issue. It's a non-issue. It's a non-negotiable. He has said himself he has to marry a Muslim woman. She has said she's not converting. So either he's gonna force her into it, or she's gone. So a ring is not gonna change it.
I don't understand why they are still hanging out. I thought she would be on a plane back to the US. We'll see what happens.
Maybe she's waiting for Rory to fly back to pick her up.
Maybe.
I'm sorry, that was a rude joke.
Also next week, Loren wants to see Faith one last time before he flies home. Please don't go, Faith. Just say no.
I feel like that's going to be like the Brian and Ingrid thing.
Mm-hmm.
I want to see you one last time, but I'm not going to apologize about anything. But yeah, I'm not mad at you. I'm not angry. But can I have your mom's number?
And finally, Joe is going to reveal another secret to Magda, which she does not like. Of course.
It was going to be an issue.
The last thing that I wanted to mention is simply this. Merry Christmas. Happy holidays, everyone. This is December 23rd right now as we're making this recording. So tomorrow things start. Hope everybody is well and safe over the holidays. And finally, before we go, if you're enjoying the 90 Day Fiancé Honestly podcast, please subscribe to or give our show a follow. And if you have an additional moment, please rate us and help other 90 Day fans to find the show. Thanks for listening.
Thanks, everyone.
See you next week.